This is the 76th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the third week of January 2012. This episode is titled Feature Graveyard. CloudFocus Week is sponsored by Arkus, your cloud computing experts. I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me for the 76th time here in the Times Square studio is Justin Elsey. Justin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm feeling very refreshed. I'm feeling, it's cold, it's crispy out, so it just, I don't know, makes me feel awake.
Okay. We have upped the volume on the recording, so hopefully we had a couple of people say it was a little low. We listen.
We're engaged.
We are in the social. We're in the social. And but we got an agenda. We're going to talk about Blackbaud acquiring Convio. Talk about this thing, SOPA PIPA. Sounds sort of like bad.
Sound like British
British
princess
names, yeah.
people.
Oh, we know PIPA is one,
right.
But SOPA. This sounds like someone's like, no, you spell it soap. The A goes before the. Let's talk about that. And then we'll talk about my blog post, which is all about Salesforce depreciating features, which is not live yet, but will be live as soon as this is downloadable. And then we'll do our CloudFocus app pick of the week. Of course, I have a very cool one. I really like it. I've been testing it, and
Is this the one you were testing with me the other day?
Yes, it is. It's
at
very
least I
cool.
know about it, though.
Yeah, at least you do.
I don't know what it is, though.
Yeah,
you're very cryptic with your.
That's it.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, that's it.
Really?
Yep. So let's.
How do you even say that? I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. That's why I like leaving a bit of a surprise.
I thought that you put that in the Google Doc. I
sometimes do that. Put the
like
initials.
I don't want Justin to know what this is,
right?
Because he'll go play with it.
Yeah,
right
you do.
now.
And you're like, oh, I've already seen that. And then as opposed to like, ooh, that's cool. I want your immediate reaction, which is what's good.
All right.
All right. So let's kick it off with a little Blackbaud news.
Yep. So Blackbaud, as our nonprofit practitioners out there are well aware, is a rather large provider of software for nonprofits to do both like development or fundraising, as it were, as well as the financials. And, with a suite of products, the most popular being Razor's Edge and Financial Edge. I think it's called Financial Edge.
Yeah.
As well as a couple others that they've purchased along the way. You know, if I get this wrong, I apologize. I think they own Tapestry,
right?
Among a few others, but they've been rather slow to move to the cloud. They've been really slow to move to the cloud.
AKA haven't moved to the cloud.
AKA they haven't. You know, you can put it on a virtual machine. Isn't very cloudy because the client is still a thick client on your desktop. It looks a lot like Outlook.
So you can host the thing, but you can basically do that with everything.
Right.
I can host my operating system on a virtual machine and turn it into it.
We've done that.
Yes.
So, you know, it's a little behind the times as far as its look, its feel, its back-end technology,
and we get a lot of clients who are moving from Blackbaud.
We do. We get clients who are moving from Razor's Edge to the Salesforce Nonprofit Starter Pack.
Or integrating with it.
Or integrating, like, the Financial Edge back-end with the Nonprofit Starter Pack for the donation tracking.
Yep.
And it looks as though they've taken a step, as opposed to sort of building their own, they've sort of taken a step into SaaS by purchasing Convio.
Right.
And Convio to me, was a big competitor to Blackbaud. They did a lot of the same things. They have a huge suite of products to manage a nonprofit, particularly the fundraising department, a CRM piece, a mass email piece, a mass marketing, mass mail, websites, landing pages, build your own landing pages, like a full suite of products, all SaaS, all Convio.
Right.
We also know that Convio has a product called Common Ground, which is a Force.com application that sits on top of the nonprofit starter. So I thought this would be an interesting topic because it's two big competitors to Salesforce in the nonprofit fundraising space combining, and one of which already has something specifically built on Salesforce. Like they work with Salesforce well. Blackbaud, I don't think works very well with Salesforce. They have a little spats and battles and whatnot. So I thought it would be interesting to bring up as some industry news that's being shaken up there in the nonprofit world, and I'm interested to see what the relationship between Convio and Salesforce turns into. If it whittles away, if Common Ground will continue to be innovated, or if it'll just disappear, and if some of those integrations will continue to exist, like the mass mailing. I think you could use Convio's mass email tool with Salesforce as sort of an integration if you were so inclined. And for Blackbaud's sake, I wonder if they're gonna. I mean, they can't get rid of like Razor's Edge and Financial Edge. I just wonder if they'll try and move it on to the Convio technology, or if they'll just run them as separate companies, because they sort of compete with each other. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, it definitely seems like one of those, competitive play, but it also feels like one of those things that in 2 years we're going to look back and it really won't have worked. Like, it's very hard to take two distinct companies that make the same thing, or competitors to each other, one who has a relationship with another company, and to merge those. Oh, I've been involved in two or maybe three mergers. I can't remember. It's been so many mergers.
Arkus has merged.
Yeah, we've merged
millions
of times. But when I was involved in that big other company, and it would take. Now, granted, that was on a scale that's probably dwarfs this, meaning that was tens of thousands of people joining another 20, 30,000 people. And there are, there's concerns, but I've seen these things happen, and they're very difficult. Like, to join, you got the culture, you got the technology, you got the product mixes. An example would be Lotus and IBM. I feel like that's one of the biggest failed purchase, merger, buyout, whatever. I think Lotus became less Lotus, and IBM really didn't gain anything out of it. Their cultures, and I have a person on the inside who was during it while they were merging, but it just never worked. And to this day, like, if I said, well, do you think Lotus's benefit from being part of IBM? No. Like, what has Lotus done for you lately? Nothing. They had innovation before they were bought by IBM. IBM has sort of become like, what does IBM become? They don't do laptops.
Hey,
they don't do, yeah.
Watson,
right.
Stay back.
Yeah. So, I don't know, this to me, this seems like one of those great on the drawing board. Like, they went to their offsite, their corporate retreat, and they're like, you know what, we got to purchase somebody. Well, there's only 2 people out there. All right, buy that one. And they had enough money, and they purchased them. It just feels like there's so many entangled things. I don't know enough about the products, but from a company thing, I think it would be a very hard mix to make.
Yeah, to me, I know a little bit about the products. To me, Convio seemed like a better product, a more polished, finished, this era
less
of
legacy.
Computing, less legacy. Blackbaud, though, people swore by it. You
Right.
couldn't get them off of it because it does everything.
Right.
And they've been on it for 20 years.
Right.
And it's like, well, no, can you do this thing? And it's like, ugh, no. Well, Blackbaud's built all these little things over the years and screens that do this and that and the other, and it integrates with the finance system, and it's one product. So
interesting. Good to see that a company's at least realizing the cloud is here and then trying to get into it.
Well, they've been supposedly trying to build Razor's Edge in the cloud forever.
Right.
Maybe Convio will just be the platform for that. I don't know.
But
it'll be
interesting. All right. Well, next up is actually a big discussion. We can't spend a ton of time, and I think we'll probably come back to it multiple times. It's something that I feel like 3 days ago, if I'd asked you what's SOPA or PIPA, you'd be like, I have no idea.
No clue.
And now, it's blowing up. It's clearly some so I'll tell you what I know about it. I've watched a couple videos. I like to watch videos. So I've watched a couple videos. I've read up a couple articles on it. And my understanding is these are two pieces of legislation written in part being, influenced by the rights management conglomerates or organizations that are funded by the media companies that either make, copyrighted materials like music or movies, maybe even software, although it doesn't look like there's a lot of software. But the RIA, it's the RIA and the MIA or MI, whatever. Those two companies that are sort of behind this, they are pushing to have this as be a policy. And basically what it is, or starts as, like all good things, if you read the title of what it is, it's like privacy and protection of, it always sounds like, oh, that sounds good, right? I want my privacy protected, or I want my
I'm anti-piracy.
Yeah, I'm not. Piracy's bad.
Pirates are terrible.
I think what I've read is that this piece of legislation, there's actually two, right? There's SOPA and PIPA, have just gone out of control, and that they're so stringent and so strong at this point, and in the rules and regulations, that they would in essence kill the internet. Because, and I know I'm going over the top a little bit. I'm sensationalizing it, but they're really about and showing that they could put at the ISP level. So we have an ISP here at work, maybe not. You have ISP at home. What happens is that every packet of information you sent out through your ISP, from either ISP to ISP or throughout the internet, was scanned and looked at for information that could possibly have copyrighted information in it. And if that was happened, they could shut you down and or turn off your internet for that purpose. So if you were to send something that was not yours to send, meaning and it could just go and extract. And so it becomes very big brothery. It also becomes like anti-internet, because the internet is really about openness and really about sharing, and it's going on these theories that people understand, which is copying something or making a fraudulent copy of something. Well, the whole internet is a copy of a copy. Every time I take a website down and I view it, I'm basically making a copy of that website on my browser. I am. If I go look at a picture, whether it's the most copyrighted picture in the world, I have to take a copy of it to bring it down to my computer. And it's a perfect copy of that picture that's sitting up there. That's the way the internet was built. So it's very anti, and what a lot of the fun things are coming out of is all the stories and videos of people explaining it and basically showing how our government, which is sort of the bigger worry, is that our government is doing two things I'm not really happy about. We don't really want to talk about politics, but one is they're making legislation about stuff they don't understand. Not a good idea. Two is they're letting other organizations that have their own agendas that are not really the agendas of the American population make this legislation. And those are two big issues. They're not unique to this. There's PACs that support, big oil. There's PACs that support legal. There's PACs that support the medical industry. There's PACs that support everything, good and bad. But it's another way of showing that our government is too much being run by these organizations that can influence what they're writing into law. And that law is not really representing what the country wants. It's representing what these individual organizations that are usually being funded by some other big organization want. So that's my understanding. I know you have less knowledge about it, but there's petitions out there. Google. So yesterday, so the big thing was yesterday. They did a blackout. Right, which is a lot of media companies, Wikipedia, Google, whatever, a bunch of them, all said we're going to black out our logos for the day to raise awareness. And it did. I mean, Facebook, people who I thought, wouldn't pay attention to this stuff, were all Facebooking and tweeting it, whatever. And I think that's good, because there's petitions out there. There's ways, there's ways to fire back to the government to let them know that they're so full of it. But my favorite story on this one is that the guy who wrote, and I posted this, tweeted it somewhere, the guy who wrote the legislation, was part of writing, I think it's PIPA, his webpage, whatever, let's call him John Smith. I can go look it up, but whatever. John Smith wrote this, and so you go to his webpage about him, and all, it's about me and about that, whatever. The background to his website, the image that he's using, is a copyrighted image, and he would be violating his own law that he's now written.
But the law is not a law, so he's not violating it yet.
Yes, he is. He's violating the policy that he wants to put in place. In other words, he doesn't even understand his own. Right? He's taken an image that wasn't his. He's using it as his background. But again, that is so commonplace. And who are we protecting? Are we protecting me or you? Or I know your significant other likes to take pictures. Someone takes her picture and puts it on their blog. Like, are we protecting her? Or are we protecting, Time Warner and their multi-billion-dollar sound?
Yeah. I imagine we're protecting the latter.
Yeah. No one's shutting down my
significant other who loves to take pictures gets really excited when Gothamist, a blog, that blogs about New York City, takes her photos from Flickr and uses them on their posts because she puts them on Flickr, tags them Gothamist or whatever, and they grab them.
That's great.
She loves when that happens.
Yep.
So it's obviously not protecting her. It's obviously protecting someone else. I honestly don't know a whole lot about it. I said to you just before I pulled something off the agenda and put this on the agenda and said, hey, this was a big deal yesterday. You know something about it. You should probably talk about it. As time goes on, I'll learn more about it, and we can have a more educated discussion about it. And I'm sure as this thing comes closer to being voted on, or when a bill becomes a law kind of song thing happens, we can have a more in-depth discussion about what it means and how the vote turned out. And
we'll go back one little bit.
Go back a note
and say that there is a piracy problem. There is a software piracy problem. There are BitTorrent sites. There are things, but what most people are saying, and what I've been reading, is saying this law has never affected them and would never affect them. First of all, they're usually offshore, these guys who do these sites. And they're just not going to be affected by this type of law. This will hurt individuals, and again, could I be shut down for sending you an MP3? I don't know. But it just seems like we're going backwards in time. It's like we're not going forward. We're not thinking about the future of it. To me, things that break down piracy are things that, and I know we always talk about Apple and things like that, but there's two ways of doing piracy. There's one is you take away the pirates, you go kill the pirates. The other way is you kill the reason for the pirates. To me, the App Store is the perfect example of killing the reason for pirates. You make things cheap enough, you make them easy enough, you make it a click away. I can't pirate a application that I buy for my iPad or iPhone, and sometimes I think, wow, it'd be nice if I could buy something and not have to, not have my wife have to rebuy it or something like that. But at the price that they are, at the price point, it never becomes an issue. I don't think, well, it's like whatever, it's $1, $2, $3, and if it's that useful, she'll want to use it. So, or you, I don't say, hey, I got this app, here, take it. So to me, I wouldn't fight this with laws. I would fight this with technology and make it easier to purchase legal things. And same thing with iTunes. iTunes is an example of I used to go to BitTorrent sites like 10 years ago and grab songs, because it was easy and there was no music to be had. Like I couldn't, I either had to rip CDs or that was it. Or now it's like it takes so much less time. My time, type in iTunes, give me a song, click, boom, or on my phone, and where you can even listen to using SoundJam, I can listen to the song in the Club Dub Dub and hit buy, and it comes flying down to my thing, and then flies down to my iPad and my computer at home. It's like that's so easy, and for $1.99 or $1.29, why would I not do that? And that's the technology taking away the piracy, not the pirates. Not going after the pirates, because the pirates are always going to be there. They're going to do what they need to do. If you take away the reason for them, I think that'd be better. So I don't know. I mean, that's my take on it. This will never affect the guys in Times Square selling the copies of movies, and that type of stuff. But anyway, so we'll move on to something more fun, even more dastardly.
Arg, pirates.
Arg. So this is a blog post that I wrote this week. Again, not up right this minute, but the minute you are hearing this minute, it will be up. So it is up this minute. It's up right now.
You're not thinking fourth dimensional.
I'm in fourth dimension. The third dimension in this time-space continuum is not up. In your time-space continuum that you're listening to this in the future, it will be up.
Dr. Emmett L. Brown taught me that.
Which is something that we've talked about a little bit in the Spring 12 release notes, which was some features that are going away. And so it kind of led me to a very hard blog post to write, because I basically thought about it for 7 days. I know it seems ridiculous. I didn't really think about it for 7 days straight, but I really was thinking about it, like, how do I attack this? What's the pros and cons? Why does it, what are things that disappear, and why are they disappearing? I always like to think, is there a reason behind it, a business reason? So it's called The Rise of Cloud Depreciation in Spring 12, and it's basically about the three major features, not three small features, three major features that have been depreciated over the last two releases, one in Winter 12 and two in Spring.
And we're
Spring
talking
12.
about Salesforce.com.
Salesforce.com releases. So for those of you who've just turned on the 76th episode, we do talk about Salesforce more often than not. We are Salesforce practitioners, consultants, and Salesforce releases 3 releases a year on average. Back in the day, they used to do more, and now they do about 3, which it seems to be for the last 5 years or so they've been doing exactly.
3 is good.
Yeah, 3 is good, and sometimes 3 is a little much. But anyway, they always release, and they have these release notes they put out, and we write blog posts about it, and we talk about it, and we tweet about it, and everybody gets all excited because we know what's coming forward. But this time, the last 2 times, in our release notes of all these new features, were a couple of things that were going away.
Subtractions.
Yeah, subtractions. And it's not so much that they're being subtracted, and I think that's where the blog posts go. It's more of how it's being handled, and I think that's where I came at the end of the article. In fact, it inspired me to go build a idea exchange idea about making the process a little bit better. Because right now, it's sort of a short warning and not very much information. And I think those are 2 things that I would want to see change. If you're going to depreciate stuff, you need to give more warning, and you need to give more documentation on what is actually happening to those features, and really what I should be doing as an end user. Just saying it's not going to be available in new orgs isn't telling me a lot. Is it going to go away? When's it going to go away? What am I going to do? How am I going to migrate off of it?
So let's just talk about the 3.
Mm-hmm.
One of which was Winter 12, which was Presentation Builder, which I think we talked about on this podcast before. This one was this one's just gone. So this one's a little different than the other 2, because this one in particular is just turned off and gone.
It made me go do some research when they bought Coral in March of 2007.
Right. And this was probably the least used of these 3 features that you're talking about here.
And I think that's why they were the most... And again, Salesforce has metrics on what's being used in their org. They know exactly what's being used. So they probably looked and saw. And my guess is, if they saw people really using this, they went out to them independently. And they did something like send them emails or something. They have 90,000 or 100,000 customers. If they found 4,000 that were using this heavily, they probably sent them individual emails, better than to make everybody. But they turned it off.
This is off.
Gone.
You can't use this now even if you wanted to.
And they gave about an 8-week notice. Yeah? Release notes.
Just in the release notes. So there's no other special, I don't know, we don't use Presentation Builder, but I wonder if
I've used it in our org.
I have used it once, but if I went in and tried to use it during that time frame, now it's gone. I wonder if something would have popped at me and said, "This is going away." You might want to try something different
with a
little
tick,
timer.
Tick, tick.
So that one's just gone, and that one was handled a little differently. And to me, that one was a little, not as big a deal because it's a smaller feature.
I think it was handled worse, but
yeah, it's handled worse
in one way
because it's gone, and you may have been using it, and now you can't.
I reached out on Twitter, and I found a couple people said their clients were using it.
Same with me. I heard a few stories of people I literally just got my entire marketing team to adopt this. They like it now.
Right.
Darn.
Right. Right.
And I feel bad for those people. Yeah. Now, these next 2 are spring 12 issues, and both of these have been announced as no longer being available for new organizations. And in Salesforce terminology, an org or an organization is an instance, a version of that Salesforce.com for that company.
Right. And so if you were to log in, so you and I log into the Arkus org, Salesforce logs into the Salesforce org, and Bank of America or Merrill Lynch logs into the Merrill. We all log in. We could be all logging into the same physical environment, but we're all logging in to our individual instances, and that is part of what makes
org.
Yes.
So any new org created in the Spring 12 realm will not include 2 features. One, the self-service portal, not to be confused with the customer portal.
Nope.
But the long-standing self-service portal that allows you to freely give a login to your contacts in your Salesforce and allow them to log into a portal that can allow them to create cases, view their existing cases, comment on them, attach things to them, as well as view and rate and use and even close their own tickets using solutions.
Right.
So you have cases and solutions in the self-service portal, all for free. It's a nice product.
We know Fortune 500 companies using this product.
Right. While slightly clunky because you can't do a whole lot to the actual pages within the portal, they have page layouts. You can move the fields around.
Yeah, it's like 19.
You can make things required.
Yeah.
You can change the header. You can change the footer.
You can put in your own custom CSS
you can put
file.
In your own. You can do all these things.
Yeah.
And it was free. But it's no longer going to be available to Spring 12 forward. So, like, you and I, we can set up a self-service portal in the Arkus org,
right?
If we were so inclined. I feel like this one is a push to A, get people off of older technology,
right?
And B, get people to pay for something that they used to get for free.
Yeah,
which is the customer portal, and the customer portal has a whole lot more flexibility. You can expose way more than cases and solutions. You can use Siteforce to build landing pages and sites to have people authenticate into the portal. And you can expose custom objects. They want you to start using knowledge and not solutions. So this is a way to sort of, why would you ever use solutions? Like, you can't even use them in this portal.
Right.
Like, because you couldn't put knowledge in a self-service portal.
Right.
You couldn't do it. It was
but
solutions.
you can't put solutions in a customer portal. Probably
I'm sure you can.
Yeah. So I think the other reason is probably, and again, these are the things that we don't know. It's a long list of things we don't know, small list of things we do know. The other reason is probably that architecturally, it is an old piece of architecture. Like, again, I've written software in the past. I deal with some open source software things, and I know that there's points when you're building out your next stack and your next architecture and you're re-engineering things for performance or whatever, you have to make hard choices, and you generally have to say, these are the things we're going to continue with, and these things we're not. And I made an analogy to normal software, not cloud computing software, because this doesn't come up as much. It comes up, but it comes up in a much, I guess, in an easier to understand thing, which is if I have Windows XP and I have some feature in Windows XP, and I don't use Windows enough to know or not know whether there's a feature there that I would use, but whatever. And I love this feature, and I've built my entire business process around it. So I have 100 people all install Windows XP on my organization. And Windows, whatever the next one was, I guess 7.
No, there was Vista in there.
Vista, sorry, I forget about Vista. Vista comes out, and it doesn't have that feature. Guess what? I don't have to upgrade.
Nope.
Right? I have no, and you've heard this from Microsoft. It's the opposite problem to cloud computing, which is that people can hang on, and they do. The organization that we used to work for, the bank that should be not named, we were on IE6 well into 2009. IE6 was a 2000 product. We were on Outlook or Office 2000 well into 2010. So we were on something that was literally a 10-year-old piece of software. It probably hadn't been updated in 4 to 5 years.
They were paying for the support of it.
Well, eventually Microsoft, that's what Microsoft eventually says, we are not going to support us, and we won't even let you pay us. Eventually they stopped, and they said, we won't let you pay. And that's kicked them off. But as an organization, you have the choice. I can hang on for another 10 years. You ride the bumps of it, whatever you want to do. What's different about this is I don't have a choice. I can't say, keep me in Winter 12.
No, you can't.
I want to stay in Winter 12 for the next 2 years because, I mean, it's the anti-cloud computing.
Salesforce has done a decent job over the last couple of years as they've gone into larger enterprises with turning more features into opt-ins.
Yep.
There used to just be like, here it is.
Yep.
Right? And you got to be ready for it.
And there's some stuff in spring
in the Spring 12 that they've, although they've been a little more proactive about it in saying, particularly the customer groups issue, which has been kind of an issue where we're turning this on.
Right.
Unless you sign something and send it back to us telling us you don't want us to turn this on. We're turning it on.
Right.
So if you have Chatter on, in Spring 12, you're going to get customer groups turned on. You have to go turn it off.
In some ways, it was Chatter, too. Chatter was it's turned on, you then have to opt out. So it seems to be 3 ways. It comes turned off, and you turn it on. It comes turned on, you can turn it off. Sometimes there's it doesn't come, but you can ask for it.
Right. Then there's it's there, but you have to pay for it first.
Right. And
So
all these different models, right?
Now, the only difference here is, between this and the Microsoft model is that for the organizations that won't be getting this feature, they never had it in the first place.
Right, and I'm not that to me is the least of this issue. This issue is not about the new organizations not getting it, because you never knew it, you never got it, whatever. Go start up an org now and you'll have it. Well, probably not now. Go buy someone's old org.
I don't know if
wait.
Reselling Winter 12 orgs?
No, old orgs. I can resell my org, go get a new org.
It has features in it that you
take
want.
over my licensing. It's weird. Anyway.
It has self-service portal, and it has Google Adwords.
Yeah, so Google Adwords is the other one. I don't really want to spend too much time on Google Adwords. It's in the blog post. But the thing that here's what I think, and again, I put it in ID Exchange. I always believe in, listen, if you're going to complain, at least do it in a way that has forward movement. And for Salesforce, the way to let them know you want something new is to let them know on the ID Exchange. So I did an idea for the ID Exchange, and basically what I said is, I compared this to Google Wave, and I know there's our Google Wave reference of 2012. But Google was, while we didn't like the choice of them destroying it and putting it out the pasture, they gave at least 19 months of notice. In fact, I would say to their detriment, they told us that it was going to be going away, and then they didn't have it go away for a year and a half after they told us it was going away. But they did give us deadlines. It's going away in this year. Then they said it's going away by this time. Then they said it's going to be read-only by this time. They were very clear, right? Once they knew that it was going away, they gave a roadmap to where it was going. And they provided information and tools, semi-tools. Actually, they did. They built new features in to get out, right? They built out export and stuff like that. Basically saying, hey, listen, we're sorry, but here's some better other tools you can use. So my issue with this is twofold. One, they're just saying it's not going to come. You're not going to be able to create a new one, which doesn't give an organization like some of our customers who use it on a mass scale any indication of, well, what does that mean? Does that mean it'll be around for the next 10 years, aka Office 2000? Does that mean it could be going away in any release, and I have to be literally waiting for every release to know? I just have to be waiting for Summer 12, and Summer 12 is going away!
If you're being given 8 weeks to get off of something that is super core to your business, and that's not enough time. So
I think if you're going to do this, the two things I would like in this is, in this line is not enough. It should be bigger, and it should say, we plan to depreciate this feature fully by this date. And I know this actually goes against Salesforce's. This is actually a problem to Agile methodology and Agile development and Scrumming and all that, is Salesforce doesn't know what they're going to do in 12 months. They don't. They plan on 3-month cycles, or 4-month cycles. So they don't know. They have an idea, they have a roadmap, but we all know that things come up, and Mark Benioff can go say, I want to do Chatter 2, and Chatter 2 then takes everybody's effort. So, but I think that that's not a great business practice. And if I'm a customer, it's another one of those tweaks in the cloud computing model of many, many pluses, but one of the minuses is this type of thing. And I was with a client yesterday. I'll give you another example. I was with a client yesterday using basically a clone of Salesforce, although it's been around since 2006. I won't mention it, but whatever. I'm not going to mention it.
No, tell me. I want to know.
I'll show you offline. I don't know. Because I'm going to say bad things about it right now.
Well, just mention it and then don't say bad things about it.
Well, when you have say that thing, you can tweet me and I'll tell you what it is.
All right.
Anyway, or maybe I'll tweet it somewhere else. But anyway, the point was I was looking at this product because they were moving off of it. And he was showing me, he was giving me a demo, and it has lots of the Salesforce stuff. And again, been around since 2006. It kind of looked like Salesforce 2006 with a few little things that they'd done newer. Anywho, and he's like, oh, and he's demoing. He goes, oh, but they just changed the interface, and it's all new now, and I don't know where this goes and where that goes, and boy, it used to be better. I wish I could have shown you a week ago, because they just changed it, and now it's not as useful to me. And it wasn't the reason he was leaving it to go to Salesforce, but it did bring up one of those things. It's that's what happens, right? You're on a platform that is continuing moving, and you have to be willing to accept that responsibility of moving with them. And if that means UI changes, if that means new features, if that means features that go away, in essence, and this is going to be hard for a lot of people to swallow, that's what you pay for. You pay for them to take away your features. Because, realistically, you can't, and I said this in the blog post, you cannot keep putting on millions and millions and millions of features, because for every feature, there's a cost to that feature, and it's not just the building of it, it's the maintenance.
Yep.
And there is some sort of model, as we know, we have software that we've built, on the App Exchange. We know there's a maintenance fee to it, and there's a maintenance charge, and for every new release, and for every new bug that comes up, and for every new whatever. So that's why they kill these things off. Partly is to make money. They're an organization who wants to make money. They're not a non-for-profit. And partly is because these things are, they are holding them back from moving forward. And I'm sure some of these are based on old technologies. They know they're not moving forward. They know that there are other replacements. But that's what I'd like to see them do. Give me much better information about when they are actually going away. Like this one, it should say, okay, great, it's not available, a new one, but I'm someone who uses this every day of my life. Do I have 6 months? Do I have a year? Do I have 10 years? What do I have? And then the other one is to start to plan out once I know that it's a year or two away, let me know, give me, how do I get off this? Like, is it a licensing thing? Do I need this? Is there a free alternative? Again, Google Wave to Google Docs, they said, listen, we have Google Docs. It does almost everything you want in Google Wave. And to be honest, we moved off, and it does. It was a little painful, but great, it does. It does exactly what, and some things it does much, much better, and I think we're just as happy being on Google Docs as we are on Google Wave. But with this, it's like they're not telling you anything else. I know the other things, and maybe that's why you come and hire a company like Arkus brag. But I don't think most people do. Or I also I think people skip over this stuff. This is a one line on a 157-page document, and if you're not paying attention, it could be like boop boop. How many admins of the 90,000 customers
reading this release notes already has it, so they're not losing anything. It almost doesn't mean anything.
No, they are losing it. They just don't know when.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe never.
No, there's not never. There's not never. They would never do it if it was never. It's somewhere. We just don't know. That's my problem. Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 10 years?
Yep.
You got to give me some answers. You could say, we plan to keep this feature for at least the next year. Great. But you have to give us some because you add that to what just happened to Content Builder or Presentation Builder, which was an 8-week notice from 0 to gone, or from fully functional to gone. So we know they also have the capability to say, here it is, and it's gone the next day. Literally, like you go to sleep on Friday and wake up on Tuesday. So overall, I understand it. As a business, I understand why they do it. I just think, again, like most things, if you just increase the transparency, increase the documentation, let us know what the process was, start to outline where the movement is, like say, hey, like I know Google Adwords, really there's much better tools in Google Analytics, which is free. And this is not as needed. Google Analytics is really 10 times better than what they were providing. It's 10 times better in terms of reporting on web traffic than really Google, this little thing was. So great. So say, we suggest clients start to seek out alternatives like Google Analytics, that type of thing. Anyway. So that wraps it up for our news. I had a lot to say about that.
You did.
I did think about it for 7 days. So my blog post says all of that. Now, my blog post is a little bit more concise with what I think is a pretty funny picture that I went with. All right, so let's go to our CloudFocus app. Let's pick some things that are new and fun and that you can use.
Yeah, why not?
And I think next week, let's just put I think next is when do we get Spring 12? Because we started playing with it in a pre-release environment.
Oh, not for... They actually sent out a note that they didn't mean to send out. So I got about 15 emails, and then I got about 15 more emails.
I ignore those. I know I shouldn't, but I get so many of them. It's like Spring 12.
Well,
I'm like,
because we're admins in so many orgs that you just get the same message a bunch of times.
I have to learn to shut those off.
So yeah, I don't know yet when it's coming. I think it's coming to sandboxes this weekend, but don't quote me on that.
Oh, that'd be nice. Because we have it in a pre-release. I started playing with it. I'd love to talk about the new features in it. Yeah. Maybe we'll do that in another couple podcasts.
Yep.
All right,
so
cool.
I'm picking, for my CloudFocus app pick of the week, I'm picking a iPhone Clout App.
Okay.
In preparation for making sure that my Clout score is in order as Clout becomes part of the social customer profile. As
I was playing with today.
And I gotta be honest, I'm just gonna take a little... Well, the The app is called Clout Score,
Clout
one word, by Infinixity. I hope I said that correctly. It's for the iPhone, and it's free. And it essentially just shows you your Clout Score, lets you look at other people, let you see their Clout Score, who you influence, just the basic Clout
It
Score.
basically is like Clout, but the mobile
Just
app,
mobile.
but like mobile.
Yeah.
Does it give you anything better than just logging in via the mobile? No?
That's about it.
Okay.
Clout doesn't have a mobile app, so this
But do they have a mobile? Does their site go mobile? Meaning, does it have? Because some sites now, you go to them, and they're like, they have great mobile versions of it.
I don't even know. I just downloaded the app.
All right.
The reason why I did it because I know that there's going to be this social Clout Score on the contact page in Salesforce, and I wanted to make sure my Clout is up to snuff.
Your and my Clout are the same now, which is good.
I see your Clout is just as big as mine.
Yes, our Clout scores are.
And I must say, just veering off of my pick because it's basic. It's see your Clout Score, see other people, see the influencers, whatever. The Clout implementation in the contacts in Spring 12 is, I think, my favorite one.
Yeah, I think
it's the best one. Number one, once you sign into Twitter or Facebook, whichever one is like connected to your Clout, you're logged in. So you don't have to like log in again.
That's nice.
A bonus. And it shows you the most useful and beneficial information of all of them. Like I think Twitter actually is probably the best, but Twitter and Clout are really good. The other ones are still not so good.
Well, YouTube is the worst.
Horrible.
YouTube is a search.
It's a useless thing. It's horrible. Like
it's the worst.
I didn't know what it was going to do. And
I thought it would wake you up
for my name on YouTube in video titles.
Right.
Useless. Completely useless.
It was useless.
So, I mean, maybe it's good for accounts, but for contacts, useless.
I tried it with accounts. I was testing out social accounts and social leads today, doing all those. So I put in a couple of us, and I was playing around with you and the other partner shall not be named. And I was interested, and I clicked on the YouTube one. I was like,
wow,
really?
That's bad,
I was like, really?
I did the same exact thing. I was playing with them like, oh, Clout, this is great because it goes like Clout, then YouTube. So I clicked the Clout one first, and I was like, oh, this is good. Good on you. Good job. And then I'm like, what's this one gonna be? And I clicked it. And I'm like, ooh. That's just useless.
Yeah, useless. It's not so. It hasn't.
There's nothing social about it.
Nothing social about it. And
literally nothing social.
I would almost tell people to turn it off because it doesn't. Yeah. It's not a social contact. It's a search.
No, it's terrible.
You can't connect it to what it is.
That could be a custom link on the page.
Yeah. The account stuff I really liked. I liked the Twitter and the Facebook account stuff.
The accounts were good.
I built it for both. I built on Arkus. I thought because again we do that independently, but I was like that works. That's really well done. I like that. What they need to do, the next step to this, is I know it's probably going to be difficult, but like, if I'm on an account, I have no concept. Because those social contact little chiclets, they're smaller than small, I don't have a real big sense of like going to look at them. So this other software I was looking like had a section where it showed the last recent, when I was looking at a person, it said, oh, and I put in myself in this other place, it showed my last tweeting activity. So I feel like there should be a way that kind of brings that. If you wanted to have it more forefront, I think there should be a way to bring it a little bit more forefront.
It looked as if these things were going to be available in the API in spring.
That would be great.
It looked that
spring?
way.
This spring?
12.
I didn't see anything.
It looked like these records that sort of connect are going to be available. It looked that way to me. I'm not 100%.
I mean, obviously that's where it's going. All right, so I'm going to make my pick.
How do you say this thing?
I think I spelled it wrong.
Oh, about to say.
No, it's one more T. So what I am picking is something called, it's if this, then that.
Oh.
Then I don't know if this, then that. IFTTT.com. And I saw this somewhere, I don't know where, and I put it on my gotta go look at. It's IFTTT.com, if this, then that. And it is a automation tool for your social sites.
Mm-hmm.
It basically does what some of the sites have built in already. So the example is for LinkedIn. If I type to Twitter right today and I put, #in, it then puts it as a status in. It sends it to my Twitter. You probably have it automatically linked.
Yes.
But I don't want everything I tweet to go into LinkedIn because it's noise. But if I occasionally want to throw something up into LinkedIn, I want to be able to just do that, #IN. I love that. What I don't have the ability to do is on Twitter, throw something to Facebook. I'm on Twitter, I just want to throw it to Facebook. But I don't want to throw everything I put on Twitter and Facebook because that would make Facebook people hate me because I tweet a lot more than I Facebook. But occasionally, I don't want to have to repost it. So I'd like to use a little hashtag like that. Or if someone posts something to me, I want to automatically thank you. If someone posts a Follow Friday to me, I want to be able to automatically taste. So what this thing has is a bunch of recipes. And there are literally hundreds of recipes. And they can look at all these different social networks. They can look at certain things, and they can put it in other places. So, for an example, I built one that if I post a Twitter and I put #TFB, which is to Facebook for me, this thing reads it and then throws it up on my Facebook as a status message. But you can connect anything to anything because you basically give it access to your social networks, and you create these recipes, and it goes on logic. It says, if this happens, then do this. If this, then that. And it can go through. So here's all the places it can go. This is pretty cool. Listen to all the places it can connect to. Boxcar, Buffer, Craigslist, Date and Time, Delicious, Feeds, Facebook, Evernote.
I don't need to hear them all.
Foursquare, Twitter.
There's going to be a lot.
YouTube, LinkedIn. So think about that. In those places that you want to connect up to have some sort of automation, you can do it through this, and it will talk to all of them. So I started playing with it. I built 2. It's very cool. I almost don't want to make it my CloudFocus pick of the week because I feel like it's a little bit of black magic. It's like, how can he connect all these places together? Well, this is how I do it. If this, then that. IFTTT.com. We talked about Buffer before, which I use occasionally, not as much as I used to. Do you still use Buffer?
No.
No, of course not.
I just don't. It's not. If there's something, I don't tweet links that often. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's more for tweeting links and or Facebooking links. Like,
yeah.
I don't do that often. Like, I'm not on a web page and say, I gotta tweet this.
Oh,
like,
I do.
I don't do that often.
Yeah. Anyway, I really like it. I have not even started into it. It can go into Dropbox. It can go into email. I mean, it can go into Flickr. I don't even know what you would be doing with those things, but I think you can be having them move from one to the other. And I mean, I'm more using it as a way to social network. I think you can set up recipes, and they have pre-built ones that are cool. So like, all right, here's one. When a new book is added to Kindle Top 100 free ebooks, send me an email. So it's reading from a news feed. When I star Google Reader Note. When I star a Google Reader, send it to Evernote.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Right? This one's funny. Email me 10 things to know this morning. And it gets a bunch of things in the from your whatever. Let's see. Looking for another one. Oh, if you favorite a video post on YouTube, meaning I say, this is a great video on YouTube, throw it onto Twitter and put it as a Twitter message that you favorited it.
There's some cool rules there. I might explore that.
Foursquare to Evernote, like if you put a to-do in your Foursquare,
I don't do that.
It would throw it into Evernote.
According to Foursquare, I'm still in New Orleans.
Probably. You probably still are. Anyway, a whole bunch of them. There's back and forth to Tumblr, which I just started up my Tumblr account just to play with it.
I did that about a year ago.
Yeah. Well,
and I just never...
Well, that's what I connected up with things, so I don't have to think about it. It just it exists. So anyway, if this, then that. Very cool. CloudFocus IP free for now. They also have a really cool interface. It's very big. Like, it's just a big... It looks like you've pressed Zoom on your browser like 10 times, but it's just the way it is.
Is it a website?
It's a website.
Oh.
But it's very big. And you'll notice when you're building things, like, the text boxes are huge. The text is huge.
What's the URL?
IFTTT.com.
Let me look at this thing.
Yes, you should look at it. Anyway, I could invite you.
Whoa, it is big.
Yeah, it's big. So that's it. So that's CloudFocus Pick of the Week. As always, go to blog.arkusinc.com, subscribe by RSS. we could put a thing that whenever something goes up on the blog, it could tweet it out to Twitter, and we wouldn't have to worry about it.
Oh, we should do
and
that.
Then it could send it over to Facebook, so we don't have to worry about it.
Put the internet to work for you.
That's right. Follow us on Arkus Inc. on Twitter, Jason M. Atwood on Twitter, and Just Edelstein on Twitter. We're on Facebook, of course, at facebook.com/Arkus Inc., where people can comment and interact with us as people or as a company. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. If you see something on iTunes, subscribe there. You can leave a review there. That'd be great. Best way to know about the podcast. We obviously do this weekly. And then on the blog post, remember that you can comment using Discuss, which I think is one of the things you can put in the recipes.
I like Discuss.
Yes, and now there's Discuss is coming to something else. The other day I was reading on it. I was like, oh, that's cool. You can connect up Discuss with something, and I was like, oh, that's very cool. You can connect it with some other place. But anyway, but you can comment using Discuss. It's sort of an open standard for commenting. Works great. It connects with your social network, so you can log in as like Twitter or Facebook, but then post it to there when you do it, which is great. And that's it for this week. Until next week, enjoy those cloudy days.